This is the School Success Podcast, a podcast for school leaders to learn from other school leaders what's working and what's not, and to get inspiration and encouragement, as well as strategies to grow school enrollment, connect with families, retain teachers, recruit teachers, and everything in between. You guys are heroes, and I cannot thank you enough for pouring into this next generation that's coming behind us. My goal is you will take at least one thing away from every episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Please enjoy the School Success Podcast.
Time for school.
Hey, school success makers. Today, we're joined by Xavier, who runs his charter school at a beautiful California. You can tell he's passionate about what he does. He's running an awesome school, and we dive into all of it on today's episode. So please enjoy this next episode of the School Success Podcast. Well, hello and welcome to another edition of the School Success Podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Slater. I'm joined by a new friend out of Los Angeles, California, Mr. Xavier Reyes, who is the founder and CEO of Alta Public Schools. They're doing some awesome things in education. They got a few different things that really stood out to me when I was doing some research on him and his school. And so we're going to dive into all of that, but I don't want to take any thunder away from our guest. So I'm going to pass it off to him to introduce himself. So Xavier, welcome to the podcast, sir.
Hey, Mitchell. Thanks for having me on this, your podcast. Amazing work you're doing on your podcast. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you, man. And you too, man, you've been doing education for a while, as I had mentioned. So you, when I was kind of going back through your history, you've worked in schools for a while, but I think it's been around, is it 10 years or so, 11 years that you've had this, you decided to start this school on your own. So kind of I'd love to hear some history about that.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, so my wife and I, it's a long story, but I'll make it really short. My wife and I come from a business background. We were marketers and public relations practitioners. We're in the private sector for a long time. When we got married, we bought a home out of in South Central because I wanted to write a book about growing up in South Central Los Angeles. And not surprising, we started talking to our kids and our neighbors. Not surprising, the schools were horrible. And so my wife and I, we don't have any children, so we decided, why go through the trouble of writing a book if our kids in the local neighborhood can't read, And so we decided to start a charter school. We've invested our treasure, blood, sweat, and tears to actually get it up and running. This is in 2009. We got it approved. We've started with a K-3. Last year we graduated some of our early students, from that time out of high school. So it's been an amazing ride, but the story is both bittersweet, because charter schools, as as folks know, especially in California, they're always on a daily basis under attack, But we do it with a lot of love, a lot of love for the community, a lot of love for the children, and so that trumps everything, So we're really happy to do it. This is our, we've come to education, by way of we don't even know, it was providence, right? Divine providence. But we're here. My wife isn't an educator either. Neither am I. But we love education, and that's what we're here for.
Man, that is a cool story. I like that you guys, don't have a background in it, but you saw a need and were like, you know what, let's just do this because it's for the best of the kids and getting them plugged in. And I guess, how has that gone for you now? It's been 11, 12 years. How has the turnaround been in the community based on grades and child education and stuff?
So when we first started, we decided to go bring the best educational program that I found, which is the International Baccalaureate, to this community, to a low income immigrant community, and so it's been when we first started, I mean, we had lines of people trying to get into the school. We had a huge waiting list. The area really needed the help. There was less than 50% high school graduation at the time. I mean, it was a horrible time for students, and families at that time, and fast forward to today, there's quite a bit of folks that like us, my wife and I, that saw the same thing. And so we have, a lot more help in the community through the charter school offerings, And so a lot of kids are entering the charter schools, and surprisingly, every educational institution, including traditional public schools, have raised their game, so the students are the ones that are winning, And so that's been pretty amazing. One of the things I've mentioned is that, charter schools in California are always getting beat up. And last year, on that particular topic, our high school was closed down. We were one of the schools due to financial issues. I mean, not like, we're in the red, but the state didn't like some of the way we managed our dollars. And so they closed us down despite having the highest graduation rate, one of the highest graduation rates, the highest college sending, numbers in the community, And so, and being a K-12 international baccalaureate program, and if you know anything about, international baccalaureate, it's one of the programs that's created by the Brits for the world, for their own diplomats around the world. And so it was only forwarded or implemented in high-end, well-heeled communities, so only the rich got to enjoy this program. And so we brought it to a very low-income, very immigrant community, and so for us, it was a gift, to give to the community. And it's the kids that have graduated from our school, from the high school last year. We had some kids going to Princeton, Stanford, some of the big schools, and so it's been a really blessing for the kids and the families, which is something that we wanted to do. That was our goal.
Good. And this, for charter schools in California, I know there is a lot of them, and you mentioned they're being always under attack. Is it fairly easy to start a charter school there? Like, what are the steps for somebody like who may be listening going, maybe I'm not happy with my area, maybe I just start my own charter school in my state or my area? Is it kind of like, again, I know that's a huge question, I'm not looking for the 45-minute answer, but like, how did that kind of look like and take?
Well, nowadays, it's 10 years ago when we started, it was really difficult to do. Nowadays, it's even more difficult to do, but can it be done? Yes, it can. There's, if you have, the way I say it is, look, if you have no children, if you have some money in the bank, if you're married and, and are looking for a divorce, no, I'm kidding. It's really heart-wrenching work. You have to be committed. When me and my wife first started, one of the things that happened to me was, I started looking for other charter school people to mentor me, right? And the first one I ran into was a guy out of San Diego, and he told me, look, everything that you're going to be doing has to start with love. And I was like, this guy's a hippie. What's he talking about? Like, what? And fast forward, a few years after that, there's no doubt about it. There is no doubt about it. If you're going to start a charter school, like every teacher, I believe, and every person that works in a school, if you don't love what you're doing, you should not be there, right? Yeah. Because it is the main ingredient for you to start a school, for you to serve children. And so that's how we operate, straight, out of love. We've sacrificed a lot. The people that have worked with us have sacrificed a lot, despite the many, many steps that it takes to actually, get a school approved. The rules have changed. Just in the last 2 years, 3 years, the rules have changed. To start a charter school. But it's become very, very difficult to do. Unlike Texas, Arizona, other states, in California is really, really difficult to do.
And you've already hinted at a couple of these, but I'd love to hear some of the challenges you guys are up against. I'm sure there's a ton, because I think right now, just in the world we live in, there's multiple challenges when it comes to education. But if you guys can kind of narrow it down, what would be some of those challenges you guys are up against, and how are you also combating those?
Sure. Lower student enrollment, right? One is the first one I would kind of point to. Lower student enrollment in California. A lot of people are leaving the larger metropolitan areas, moving to other states, Arizona, Texas, Nevada. So for us, and our schools is because we are, this is the advantage of having, business people come to work in schools and do nonprofit work, is that, we have experience out there, right? And so for us, we've done a lot of digital marketing to bring, to replace every student that's left. I'm going to put it that way. And so that's the way we think of it, is replacing every child that's left to another school, to another state, another community. We have to work hard to replace that child. And so we do we're traditional marketers, right? My wife and I, but digital marketing has been it's done very well for us. Good. And so we've done a lot of that work. And so, but in an immigrant, monolingual Spanish speaking community, the traditional methods work really, really well for us, which is, let's meet parents in the, supermarket parking lot, right? Or let's meet them at the front door, so doing those kind of tactics has worked really well for us. And then the other thing is the teacher shortages, right? We've all experienced them. Anyone in school, I think, throughout maybe in the world, not just the United States, but a lot of people are retiring. That's a huge one for a lot of people, especially in LA. There's not enough teachers. The middle school, for example, I think in our elective classes, these are all long-term subs. Even in our core classes, I think we've had two different teachers in 1 year. So that's a big one. So again, getting out there early, talking to the schools of ed, offering, and this is the best part about the teacher shortage, is that teachers win. I'm a big advocate of paying teachers and folks that work at schools, a very competitive, salaries and, pay. I'm very big on that. What keeps us, modest is really our budget, right? What the per pupil dollars that come to the school is what keeps it low. But the teacher shortage is become a buyer's market. So they're going to go where they're going to be paid more, right? When there's more perks, when there's more benefits. So we've tried to meet that demand, and so this year. We're going to be fully staffed as opposed to this current year. This current year, we've had a lot of shortages. Next year, we're going to be fully staffed because of that, right? Because we met that need from the teachers end. So, those are the challenges, the three biggest challenges that we face.
Yeah, and obviously, you guys live in a very expensive part of our country. So, paying a teacher, obviously something they can survive on and live on there. I know that's got to be hard because it's obviously really expensive. How much currently is like a apartment in Los Angeles or close to the school, like what do those kind of run right now for maybe a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartment?
Oh Lord, I mean, yeah, talk about living wages, right? I mean, rents are really expensive, because we're in a low income area. I mean, you could still probably get an apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment for about, I don't know, close to $2,000, a month. Yeah. So, for a teacher that's making, 65 a year, that's their main expense, right? The main expense is really a rent, so, and we've had a lot of those, a lot of teachers too, that like, we're not coming back next year because, we just can't afford it, just can't afford it. We got to go somewhere else, somewhere closer to home or whatever, because a lot of teachers, hey, I want to buy a house, I want to have something,
Yeah.
And so they move on, so it's really a unfortunate situation,
Man. Well, obviously those are the challenges. I appreciate you sharing the challenges as well as how you guys are, combating those. And it's a perfect segue into one of my favorite parts, which is getting you a chance to brag about your school. You've been doing this for over a decade there. So what's going really, really good that you're like, hey, I'm really proud of us doing this, or this is what's happening. I know you mentioned some of the kids going off to Stanford and some of the Ivy League schools.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome. Like what other things?
So I think one of the big, this is, again, going back to the main ingredient, right, which is love. I think the people that have stayed and how, as an organization, we've kind of met that demand to keep folks, is worked really well for us, right? So we've basically opened up our books and say, hey, we can't have, a super large reserve if our teachers are getting, bad, or lower than competitive salaries. We can't do that. We got to meet that demand. We got to meet the market. And so that's, we've been able to hold on to people that are really aligned with our mission and where the schools sit, and so they love the community. A lot of them drive from far away, to come to this community where we're at. And so what's worked for us really well is that we haven't had major staff, exodus. So we retained a lot of our staff, so that's been really, really awesome. And because we've retained our staff, it's made us a stronger group, if you will. So it's a very cohesive, work environment. People understand, what's going on with COVID, the environment, the political and financial environment, and so people are kind of like digging in their heels, if you will, in where they're at. I love this place. I like this place, and so we're going to stick it out. And so that's been really, really cool. That's worked for us. So that's really nice. And then, along with that is, the people that are stayed, I mean, they're mission driven, they're totally mission driven. You could see that a lot, you could see that. I mean, I just walked out of a meeting right now and people are on fire. They're excited. There was one, assistant principal we had was an older gentleman, and, we're talking about data and how to best help children. And, typically, he was very mellow, just kind of sitting down, listening. But as we started to, the energy in the meeting room was such that for the first time he got up out of his chair and he was like, oh my God, are other schools doing this too? It's like, oh my God. So the energy was very, very awesome. So I think that's working really, really well for us. And when that happens, I'll go back to the same thing, right? Is the kids win. The kids win, and so that's why we're here. That's our mission, and people love that, And so that's going really, really well for us.
Awesome. And I just interviewed somebody yesterday. Obviously, that episode won't air for a while, but he mentioned every time he has his staff meetings, mentioning the mission and vision of the school. And he's like, I know some of the teachers are getting bored. They hear it all the time. But he goes, but I want them to know this is why you're here. This is what you're a part of and what you're doing. And I was like, that's so good. Like, it's so true. So I love that, the mission minded, you mentioned your staff, you got buy-in, and it's nice. You need the buy-in from your staff for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Do you guys have I'm guessing you guys have already opened, I mean, as the time of recording this, we're in the month of May, but already opening up enrollment for the fall, and how are those looking right now?
Yeah, again, the numbers are they're inching up for the elementary school. We've always had a waiting list for every grade. The harbinger has been the kindergarten for us, right? It's kind of been the canary in the coal mine, if you will. So kindergarten is a little low, and so that's an area we're working in pretty hard, but other grades, like I think it was like third and fourth, we do have a waiting list. So our numbers, we've lost kids, we have, because, the great migration out of California, but again, what we're trying to do is for every child that we lose, we're trying to gain one back. So, it's not looking really bad. Can we do better? Absolutely. I mean, just unprecedented times right now,
Yeah. And are you, oh man, I lost my train of thought. I had a really good question and it's gone. Oh, school.
When that happens.
I got it. I came back. For those listening, to kind of get a grasp of your school and how you guys are operating, what size. Are you guys one school with one campus, K through 12? What kind of or is it multiple school campuses, to let people know?
Yeah, no, we have multiple schools. We only have TK 8th grade. High school, like I said, was closed down last year, and so we're a K8 school, TK 8. Okay. They're in two different campuses, actually three different campuses. One is a center, we call it a parent center, which is we just focus on, we have a parent university in there, so we do a lot of different classes and presentations and just different things with parents. So we're really big on that.
Okay. And is the goal to get that high school opened up this fall, or is that a bigger thing with the state that has to be figured out?
Yeah, no, that's something that we gotta figure out. We wanted to come back and retool, if you will, for the long haul, and that's what we're doing now. We got our school closed was large investment we made so that the kids in high school, an investment in facilities, right? And so the state, just didn't like how we invested early to have a great facility, and so at the end of the day, they pulled the plug. So we're coming back. We're reassessing. We actually got invited by other school districts and another state to open up schools there because, school districts are interested in the international baccalaureate, and we're experts at that. So, we're regrouping now.
There you go. Okay, come to Florida. You could have another charter school in Florida. Come on now.
Absolutely.
Very good. Well, as I kind of typically wrap up the podcast, I always like to ask, one final question for them that we can dive into. And it's just giving you an opportunity to share any piece of advice that you would share with any other school leaders. And we got them from all over the country, of course, so not state specific, but if you had to leave everybody with a piece of advice from your eyes, what would that be?
Yeah, I'll go back to what I was taught, right? The advice somebody gave me, which is, everything starts from love, right? If you love what you do and that oozes out of you, I think you'll go a long, long way. If it's about the children, if it's everything you do is centered around children, with love, you can't do anything but succeed. So that's my advice, for anyone.
We're all here for the kids, man. It's all about the kids, and that's
absolutely.
Kids are awesome, man. They can be a pain sometimes, but they're awesome because adults can be a pain too. So you have to remember that.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, it has been an absolute pleasure interviewing you and getting to hear from you, your heart, And I know, again, you've been doing this for a while, so I just want to thank you. Thank you for pouring into that next generation and pouring into Southern California for all those kiddos. I'm hoping you guys can get that high school open back up so you can continue to pour into all those 8th graders that are moving up into the high school. And just thank you again for giving of your time and for dedicating all these years to kids in that next generation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mitchell, for having me. Much appreciated.
Well, another huge shout out and a thank you to Xavier for taking time and being on the podcast today. I love what him and his school are doing there in California, and I'm wishing them nothing but the best as they continue to grow and educate the next generation. And as always, I'm hoping you guys can take at least one thing from today's episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. And if you're struggling with that, if you need help, that is what myself and my team are here for. We love working with schools and helping them grow enrollment, connect better with their families using technology and digital marketing. It's what we do, and we love it. So check us out online if you need help, schoolsuccessmakers.com. That's schoolsuccessmakers.com. And you guys are school success makers, and you are awesome. So keep doing what you're doing. And if you're into Facebook, please join our private Facebook community on, of course, Facebook called School Success Makers. You can find it in there. It's just for school leaders. So please hop on in there and join School Success Makers on Facebook. And I will personally see you in there. And we'll be there here next week with another awesome guest on the School Success Podcast. We'll see you then.